So this afternoon I'm here with Elliot Hughes. Elliot is a property developer. I have to admit, I met Elliot through Paul Higgs at one of my events in June, and reconnected with Elliot at an event which Tony Egan runs last week. So Elliot's on my service accommodation panel in a couple of weeks' time on the 28th of this month. It's going to be an amazing panel, particularly because Elliot's going to be there. Elliot's doing some quite interesting deals, to say the least. Elliot, rather than me take all the time up, um, how would you like people to refer to you, and what particular deal are you doing right now, or have done in terms of service accommodation?
Sure. Well, firstly, just want to apologise for the kind of ad hoc way that we're kind of doing this meeting, because I've actually literally just walked out of this building, which is where my solicitors are, because we've just signed another deal. We actually had an exchange and a delay completion on it, and it came to the point where the delay completion came to an end. So we've had to be signing all the documents for completion. Had to do that in person down here. So that's why it's a little bit ad hoc, the ad hoc nature for it all. The deal we've just signed is actually a hotel with a gym, function room, kind of restaurant, bar as well. So yeah, there's quite a few things probably different from the traditional service accommodation that most people talk about, because although I've got those units, but we've got hotel and gyms as well. So I feel like I can add quite a bit of value to people from that angle.
Sure. So, how did you begin in property? What made you get involved in property?
To start off, I'm not really too sure. I kind of just looked at the kind of times 100 rich list, and everyone had property. So I thought, well, that's probably a good thing to be getting into, and kind of always fascinated me by taking, a building and kind of doing all the construction work and then, renting it out. And, at the time I, quite naively thought that, it was just kind of, money that would just come in and you didn't really have to do anything. When I first started out, I thought, just rent it out and that's it really. But, quite suddenly worked out that, that wasn't the case. And then actually, really started enjoying what we were doing. And it's kind of evolved from there. It's evolved from taking a 3-bed terrace and turn it into a 5-bed student house and doing that quite a few times, to, where we are now with, developments and, building flats and, using some of those flats as service accommodation, and, bigger buildings like this hotel that we've just about to complete on. And it's, been an exciting journey.
Sure. And in terms of property, systemization, software, although they don't have to go in hand, what systems do you have in place? What do you think the most important systems you have for property? Possibly it's using a particular piece of software. In terms of that question, what would be your key response? Would it, in terms of possibly how you manage your properties, do you look at particular software, or maybe you use a CRM system, which is really key, which keeps a list of your investors, or maybe you don't use any particular software, but you use traditional Excel spreadsheets?
Yeah, interesting question. Use quite a few things. I'm quite a fan of using people, really. So I've got a PA, I've got a manager who manages a few bits and pieces. He's kind of also my right-hand man as well. More kind of an operations manager, if you like. And we've got some, other people, that kind of do admin kind of roles, and I'll try and outsource a lot of the things as well, like bookkeeping. But in terms of particular software, we use Evivo for serviced accommodation and hotel stuff, and I tell you the main reason, because we did use other software before this. We did use software called Little Hotelier before that, and the main reason we changed is because Avivo allows you to, and obviously I don't want anyone else kind of making this kind of mistake, because what was happening is with other softwares, you had to do a lot of messing about with, you know, making sure that payment was taken when people turned up to the hotel. You've got to make sure that there's someone there to kind of receive the payment, and you know, you can't. It's difficult to take damage deposits and things like that. And you know, the main reason we moved over to Avivo is because they've got a payment gateway built in. We can pre-authorize damage deposits. We can take payment before people arrive. And you know, that allows us to kind of systemize the business a lot easier, because we can take all those payments before. That means we can have a personless check-in and check-out as well, really. And it's all just due to just that little bit of change in software, where we can kind of pre-authorize all the payments first, and we don't really necessarily need someone on site all the time for that. So that's kind of on the service accommodation side of things. On the kind of the HMO side of things, okay, one of the biggest thing that probably made a difference to the business was using Xero accountancy software, because you can go track. You know, with Xero, you don't really need like another bit of kit to kind of track what tenants are in what house and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, you know, detail all those, you know, all those contact details and stuff. But in terms of like payments, Xero can systemize a lot of that for you. You can set up invoices, recurring invoices, and get that program really working for you. And then if you have a bookkeeper who knows how to do Xero, or a PA, or something like that, that can manage that as well, it's really quite a simple process.
So we've looked at software, we've looked at systemization, we've gone through a little bit of your history. In terms of Brexit and post-Brexit, and in terms of how you've looked at investing this year, post June 23rd, June 24th, of course, there's been changes also with government taxation as well. Has your views on the market changed as an investor? Doing anything different, looking at different strategies? Would you have looked at service accommodation less or more because of Brexit?
Yeah, so Brexit's a funny one. I don't think the effects of Brexit have really hit us yet. I think probably what's happening at the moment is a lot of foreign money is moving into the country, because the pound sterling has weakened, and that's making investment deals a lot more attractive at the moment, which I think is probably propping up the downsides of Brexit. Is probably being propped up by that fact. I'm not really too sure that Brexit in its current form will actually exist. I think there will be, you know, some sort of free movement agreement where, because I think most of the problems are all to do with, you know, employers not being able to kind of set up head offices in England and have them kind of around Europe. I think there'll be some kind of free movement agreement. So I don't think there's going to be too much of an aftermath, really. But having said that, what are we doing in terms of property? Just continuing on, really. Just I would make sure that you have a kind of a B and a C exit plan, so that if sales values do slip, if you're doing a development, you know, just have that B and C plan. What can you do differently if you can't sell them, if the sales do slip? And just have, you know, kind of a disaster plan. So you know, does Plan C still work, or does Plan C, you know, mean that you have to put your hand in your pocket at the end of each month? You know, if Plan C still works, but it's not your favourite plan, still go for it. But just, you know, be aware that, you know, Plan C could happen. So you know, in terms of kind of a realistic scenario with what we would do. Say we were doing a development, we're looking to sell the development. You know, Plan B would be some sort of hybrid. You know, can we sell some of the development, you know, be no money down and keep some of the units and rent them out? Or can we, you know, is this a good area for service accommodation? You know, we would look at that before kind of purchasing it. could we roll on to something like service accommodation? If we can't exit out and sell the flats, can we at least generate high amount of income through either service accommodation or HMO, the units as well? So, just really do have a plan B and a C with these things. That's what I would say.
Elliot, a twofold question. So, my event's on 28th of this month, service accommodation panel. Those who can't make it to the panel but want to connect with you, contact you, is there an email or website you have, or Facebook or LinkedIn, or?
Yeah, sure. So the just going through a rebranding structure at the moment, and the website's being developed. So the best thing for people to do at the moment is to get in touch with me on Facebook, Elliot Hughes, or you can pop me over an email at EFH, that's Echo Foxtrot Hotel, property @gmail.com. And no doubt when people view this in a month or so time, we'll have a lot of the rebranding done with new website, new contact details and stuff as well.
And one very final question. So we've looked at how to contact you. Is there any particular opportunities you're looking to be contacted about?
Sure. I mean, I'm kind of open just to kind of connecting with people, seeing how, we can possibly help each other. I mean, the main thing that, we're specializing in at the moment is planning and development, but we do like to hybrid those kind of opportunities to make the best from it. So, for example, this hotel that we've just been down signing on, it's a hotel. Part of the inefficiency of the building, which is mainly the bar area, it's far too big, and some of the old hotel rooms which need redecorating anyway, they're going to be turned into flats, and there'll be service accommodation flats. It reduces the size of the bar down, which is too big anyway, so we can still retain the element of the bar, but now we've got some service. Can you still see me?
Yeah, we just lost you for split.
Yeah, I just had a phone call come in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so it's all about just kind of looking at the numbers and making sure it's the most efficient thing that we can be doing, really just taking a hybrid and making kind of the best thing work with that particular scenario. So planning development's our main thing, but we'll always look at other things to make sure that the deal works and it's efficient, and you get the most out of it. So people who have perhaps want to move into development, perhaps done a lot of things in property, and they've now built up a cash pot, and they're ready to kind of move on to the next thing and do some developments and really get that money working, but they're not quite sure how to go about it and not sure on the planning and development.
Well,
yeah, another phone call came through.
I was going to say, Elliot, so I don't want to take too much of your time up, and I know you've got some travelling back to London now, so I'm sure we're going to do another video another time in a bit more detail, but I would say, you know how to connect with Elliot, which is through Facebook. Alternatively, come along to my fantastic event on the 28th of September. It's an evening event, central London, based in Soho, yards away from Oxford Circus. Quite an amazing panel, including Elliot Hughes. So, Elliot, I just want to say huge thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Brendan.
Thank you. Bye for the moment.